Hello, today we ask Reddit what started as a joke, but people have taken it way too seriously. Make sure to comment any good jokes you may have. With that, sit back and enjoy. NyQuil chicken. There was a guy who made a video on TikTok jokingly saying that he had a great recipe for cooking chicken in NyQuil. A few people made response videos, but everyone who saw it knew it was a joke. Then mainstream media picked it up, and blew it out of proportion. They made it sound like it was an actual trend for people to be cooking NyQuil. There are already plenty of problems on TikTok, we don't need to invent new ones to complain about. I legit remember us making NyQuil drink jokes and NyQuil chicken jokes in high school 20 ducking years ago. I'm just glad the youth can still bamboozle the media. To be honest, most dangerous trends are like this. One idiot does it, media picks it up and makes it sound like everyone does it. Then what do you know, all the boomers are worried that kids are killing themselves with stupid trends. Tide Pod flashbacks. That science can't explain why bumblebees can fly. It literally started as a joke among scientists. Now some anti-scientific morons use it as an argument against science. I worked with a guy who literally used this as an argument for God against science. Which, regardless of your beliefs, is absolutely silly because I showed him multiple videos and articles telling how bees fly and he kept saying, yes, but we can't explain it. Bitch, they just did. 10 times. Listen. He forgot the most important part. We can't explain it so that he understands it. Scientology. Come on. He's a sci-fi writer and now a bunch of people believe they have mendichlorians or some shit in their blood making them do bad things. Wow. Not just a science fiction writer, but one who took a bet that he could start his own religion. Writing for a penny a word is ridiculous. If a man wanted to make $1 million, the best way would be to start his own religion. L. Ron Hubbard. That vibrating anal beads chess thing. Okay, back up, the what? An up-and-coming chess player, Hans Niemann, beat Magnus Carlsen, longtime reigning world chess champion. In their next match, Magnus resigned after a single move and accused Hans of cheating. Naturally, speculation turned to, how would you even cheat in this case? Someone jokingly suggested Hans had vibrating anal beads to signal his moves. As the story circulated, somehow this was clearly a joke suggestion bit got lost. Okay, this definitely needs more context. Hans Niemann beat Magnus Carlsen while Carlsen was playing white, stronger side, which no one has done in over 2 years. Also, Niemann was the lowest rated player of the tournament and has a history of cheating. It was the biggest upset in the chess world in years. There's even more to it. Despite playing with crazy high accuracy, which was even above Kasparov's in his golden days, when interviewed about those positions he always tried to explain that he predicted a certain position that was actually losing or not as winning. His justification to this, chess speaks for itself. I don't have any proof that Niemann cheated, but I am sure he's really good at looking guilty. Celebrities becoming politicians. After all this, I never want to be told I need experience for a job ever again. I remember thinking that the Trump thing was a big joke and eventually he'd fall off. The Bechdel test. Not that the issue it raises shouldn't be taken seriously, but people totally misunderstand that it was only supposed to highlight how absurd it is that so many movies fail to reach the very low bar it sets. I've seen filmmakers brag at Comic Cons, and the like now about how their movies pass the Bechdel test. It's seen as a female character representation stamp of approval when it really just means it reached a satirically low bare minimum threshold originally created by a cartoonist. Exactly, even Alison Bechdel herself has acknowledged that her own favorite movie fails the Bechdel test. It's not a commentary on quality but instead how we're socialized to think of women only in relation to men. Truck nuts. They were a joke at first. Now they are a point of pride on emotional support trucks. If you add nuts to your truck and it didn't come out of the factory with them, then your truck is trans. The whole purpose of trucks is to be transportation. I once met a guy who called his truck Patricia. Patricia might be old but she's got a lot of life left. I then asked how long she's been in transition because of the nuts. He took them off soon after that and I talked to him a little less now. I love the internal conflict you instilled in this guy. He clearly went home and debated the existence of a female truck with male truck genitalia, and ultimately decided that he was not on board with that. Dogecoin. I remember a Twitter post where someone asked the Dogecoin creator whether they thought about the environmental impact when creating this coin. He replied saying he took 2 hours to create the cryptocurrency and did not consider anything. Ha 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 ha. Love it. Reading this reminded me to check my app where I bought a few dollars worth of Dogecoin out of boredom. Its value has tripled in the last week. It's now worth tens of dollars. There was a post on one of the drama subs about a woman whose crypto bro boyfriend kept hounding her to invest too, so she threw money into Doge to get him to shut up despite him telling her it would tank. Well, of course her investment ended up being way better and he was mad salty. Probably fake but still made me happy. Flat Earth. Okay, so I took an intro to philosophy class in college. This is circa 2001, so flat Earth not a big thing yet. Well, out professor says, the Earth is flat, prove me wrong. So everyone is going through the normal ways to prove it. And seeing as this was the professor's lesson, he had some, relatively speaking, decent arguments. By the end of class 1 was thinking that he might actually believe the Earth is flat. But the lesson he was trying to give us was that all information we have came from someone else. NASA says there are satellites in orbit, but we don't know that. And even the math necessary to prove it's possible was passed to you from another person. Point was, he wanted to make sure everyone always had an awareness of where they were getting information from. Good sources first and foremost, but even good info gets outdated, so make sure it's still accurate. He then went on to list like 5 ways you can test in your backyard that the Earth is round. So turns out he wasn't crazy. But I think about that class a lot. I worry that someone was trying to retell that lesson at Thanksgiving to their family. But they forgot how it was supposed to end. And accidentally got the flat Earth shit moving. If I recall correctly, there was a website for flat Earth, but it was more of one of those, don't believe everything you read on the internet, kinds of sites. I believe that was the general start to the whole thing, people taking it seriously. I could be wrong though. Those masculinity types, like alpha, omega and sigma male, etc. Some people take this too seriously. People thought that's how wolves operate and just projected it onto humans. Turns out that wolves also don't do that. I think the best part of that whole thing is the fact that the guy who first thought that's how wolf packs worked is the same one who found out it's not how they work. Schrödinger's cat was formulated as a thought experiment to illustrate how odd quantum mechanics is. Not that the cat is actually both alive and dead. Not just that, Schrödinger came up with it to demonstrate how absurd and ridiculous the idea was. It was just that his peers thought it actually demonstrated their ideas quite well and started using it as a layman's explanation. Schrödinger's cat lived long enough to become the villain. School teachers telling us we won't have calculators in our pockets, some nerds took that as a challenge. I wonder what teachers say instead of that these days. We're up front that you're going to have a device that does the calculating for you, but you still need to know the math so you can figure out what problems to ask your phone to solve. We're not at the point where you can just tell Alexa to do everything for you, so you still need to know how and why things work so you can set up the automated part correctly. No Nut November. Look, it might be a joke, but I have failed 158 times already, so it should be a real challenge next year. You're 158 years old and still bustin' em out? No, he's 15 years old and quite dehydrated. Pistachios, cashews, Brazil nuts. How could you possibly do No Nut November? Being an edgelord whose entire personality trait is trolling and bullying other people. Ducking edgelords, man. I was definitely an edgelord at one point, but then I turned 15. Some people just never grow out of it. It's disappointing. I've got one person in mind specifically. We were good friends in high school and university. I even lived with him for a summer. His edgelordiness only got worse. Now he's a Trumper and just really not a fun person to hang out with. I hate it, because we used to be tight. But I just don't have the patience for that type of edgy, cynical, apathetic attitude anymore. MSG is bad and vaccines cause autism. As an autistic person, it's much more likely that autism causes vaccines. Vaccinated people are more likely to be autistic because they live longer to get a diagnosis. Taco Bell giving anyone diarrhea. I frequent Taco Bell and never got diarrhea from it. What the hell are they eating? It's what they're not eating. Which is fiber. From what I understand, Taco Bell uses filler materials that are pretty high in fiber, So people that don't get enough fiber in their diet tend to have a harder time with Taco Bell. Also, the stepping on a Lego is worse than any pain. Like, yay, it hurts, but it's not that bad unless you've never experienced pain before. Those people have never stepped on a D4. The schools having litter boxes in bathrooms thing. The very idea that a litter box could be placed in a classroom with dozens of kids who all have cell phones and are social media addicts and there's not a single photo or video of it is laughably absurd. That's always my argument. If there was a single litter box in a single bathroom in a single school in the middle of nowhere, Utah, we'd have photos of it everywhere. It would be the biggest thing on the internet. And yet, somehow, we don't have a single shred of proof. Only, my friend's kid's friend said, and whatnot. Comedy. Underrated answer. Nowadays you cannot watch an American comedian without them giving you a TED Talk. Alrighty, time for the lightning, here we go. Maybe not anymore, but Morbius. Birds aren't real. The OK symbol being a white supremacist sign. TikTok. How Poloniak used snowflake, ironically, and now it's the conservative go-to. Hating on Nickelback. Pineapple on pizza. I like it. If you don't, why shame me? I don't shame you for eating booty. Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Literally started as a joke, now it's the American way. QAnon. The Area 51 challenge. Surely NNN. Do people actually do it, or do they just lie and say they passed? 'Cause I know I've failed already. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching all the way until the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment anything I may have missed. Until next time.